Well, good evening, everyone, or good morning, wherever you're listening to us from. Welcome to our Tuesday evening introduction to LifeWave. I'm your co-host, Robin, along with Gregory, and we come here every Tuesday night to give you Gregory's going to do a very short presentation on the company, the history, the technology, and the star of the show called X39, and a little bit about our founder. And then we invite our special guest on, and we have Dr. Tom Acklin with us this evening. And it's your turn, and you can share stories and you can ask questions, and please keep them compliant with symptoms only. Gregory will do a disclaimer in a little bit, and I think it's time to get on with the show. Gregory, your turn.
Oh boy. Well, hello everyone, and we're very happy to be back from Aruba, and got our new LifeWave cap on here. And I'm going to just do a brief overview of our products and technology and our owner. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get this little show on the road here. So we're going to talk about X39 and how it activates your stem cells. Before we do, I'm going to share with you a little aha I came to a number of years ago. I finally figured out what I want to be when I get older, and that's younger, okay? And I'm sure many of you could relate to that. So before we get started, I want to ask you a personal question. If anything were possible, what's one thing you would choose to experience differently in your health or in the health of someone you love and care for? And if there could be a change in that for the better, what difference would that make for you or them? So as Robin said, a brief disclaimer, our products are not designed or intended to heal, treat, diagnose, or cure any disease. However, they do help our bodies come into a more healthy, regenerative mode, and many times wonderful things then begin to happen. So let's talk about the stem cell revolution, because we believe everyone wants to look, feel, perform, and live younger. And we found that stem cells are the key because they're a vital part of our immune system that repairs and regenerates damaged cells. Now, the problem is the older we get, the less stem cells we have. And by age 60, only a small percentage remain. And sadly, the fewer stem cells we have, the faster we age and the slower we heal. That's why a young lad falls down, skins his knee, and 3 days later, the scab falls off. Grandma falls down, skins her knee, breaks her hip, and she's lucky if she ever gets out of the hospital. The problem is age, okay? And we have less and less as time goes on. Now, what about stem cell injections? Well, they can be very expensive. They can be painful, risky, controversial. And you know what? There's no guaranteed results. You could spend tens of thousands of dollars on stem cell injections, and you may or may not get the results you're after. Well, the good news we have to share with you tonight is you can look, feel, perform, and live younger with a historic breakthrough in stem cell activation. It's a new wearable technology in patch form. It's affordable, safe, non-invasive. It's drug-free. It's a patented form of phototherapy that uses specific frequencies of light to increase and improve stem cell activity. Now, this is the brainchild of our visionary founder and CEO, David Schmidt, who's not only a brilliant scientist and researcher, but he's also a genius inventor with over 130 patents and patent pendings. And he's been on the leading edge of phototherapy research and science for over 20 years. Now, David has already conducted over 80 clinical studies proving the efficacy of our LifeWave phototherapy products, and many, many more studies are always in the works. And that's because LifeWave is an advanced technology company focused in the field of health sciences. It was started back in 2004 based on an energy-enhancing technology David developed under a government contract for Navy SEALs to increase their strength, stamina, and performance without using drugs, stimulants, or caffeine. And it turned out to be so effective, it's now used by professional athletes around the world. Our corporate headquarters, laboratory, and manufacturing is diversified between California, Utah, and Ireland. And we have global distribution to over 75 countries with 15 global distribution centers. Now, the word is getting out, and pro and amateur athletes around the world in almost every sport are using our products. And there's a few folks you might recognize: Serena Williams, David Beckham, and Michael Phelps, and many others. And if you look at some of your favorite athletes, if you look carefully on athletes and Olympians, you might see these auspicious patches on their body, and that's LifeWave energy patches. So we're talking about enhanced performance and rapid recovery, and professional athletes understand the value of that. So let's explain briefly how this amazing technology works. And it's based on a type of light therapy called photobiomodulation. And LifeWave patches contain a very specific combination of organic materials and nanocrystals. And when they're applied or near our body, they're activated by our body heat, and they then begin to re-emit very specific wavelengths of light, which stimulates targeted and beneficial biochemical responses in our body. So photomodulation is the basis of our LifeWave phototherapy patches and technology. Now, it's been a well-recognized and proven scientific principle that specific frequencies of light can cause very specific changes within our body. For example, when we go out in the sun, a specific frequency of light causes our body to make vitamin D. Another frequency of light, UV, causes our body to make melanin, the chemical that gives us a suntan. Well, LifeWave's patented technology is based on the same rock-solid, widely recognized scientific principle. Our focus for the last 14 years has been in the field of anti-aging and regenerative science. And I'm happy to tell you that in 2019, we released to the global market the LifeWave X39 stem cell activation patch, and that changed everything. Truly a historic and affordable breakthrough in stem cell activation, some calling it the holy grail of anti-aging and restorative science, doing what the multi-billion-dollar companies and big pharma have not been able to do. And that is X39 actually activates a very specific copper peptide in our body that activates our body's own stem cells, while also altering gene expression towards a younger and more vibrant you. So it truly is a game changer and a true breakthrough. In our inventor, founder, and CEO, David Schmidt, this is my greatest achievement yet, with an emphasis on yet, because he spends more time in the laboratory than he does in an office. So yes, we have patents, yes, we have clinical studies, and yes, we have field results proving that X39 is actually turning back our biological clock, helping people to look, feel, perform, and live younger. And for us baby boomers, this is very exciting news. So that's my little intro to tonight's call, and I'm going to turn it back over to Robin and our special guest doctor.
Thank you, Gregory. That was wonderful. So that we are here this evening with Dr. Tom Acklin, and he comes to us. We are so blessed to have such wonderful practitioners that are involved with our company, and we get to learn from them all the time. And Dr. Tom is a medically trained neurologist. He's a brain specialist. He's also, a healer. He's got this huge heart. He's got a major focus on educating people on the microbiome and helping people understand how food can be medicine or poison, of how to heal that microbiome. I like to call him an athlete of body, mind, and spirit. And he's just got this huge heart to be of service to so many. And he's brilliant on top of it, which, by the way, yes. So we are very grateful to have Dr. Tom with us this evening. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you.
There you are. Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see already. Lots of great questions in the Q&A.
Yes, we're going to have fun tonight.
Yeah.
We'll get to them. Not quite yet, but we'll get there. So, I like to start off with a new story or a story you want to share, and then we'll get into some details about the star of the show, X39. So do you have any new exciting stories you want to share?
I met a beautiful couple on a trail at a local state park here on my way to Cunningham Falls last weekend. And they caught me drinking from some quick moving water. If you drink water out in the wild, make sure it's moving quickly. That's the rule, right? But I had just come back from a pretty rigorous hike, and I was splashing my face, and I kind of laughed and said, "You caught me in mid rinse," and they had two gorgeous shepherds with them, and I said, "I bet they love this place." And then all of a sudden, there we were in conversation, and he said, "I wouldn't be able to do that because I was squatting down." And you know where that conversation went. He told me about his spinal issue, which we're not going to name. And he told me about fusions and multiple surgeries and whatnot. And I just listened to the story. And the more I listened, the better it got in my mind, because I could see this guy getting his life back. Yeah. And we ended up talking for about a half an hour right there on the spot. And his wife, who was from a Thai healer family, a homeopathic nursing community, and really spoke a lot of these regenerative conversations. And so it turns out, guess where they're from?
Where?
Montana.
Ha! Of course, they're in a beautiful place again.
About 5 miles from you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I gave him a patch. I actually was wearing a patch right here on my third eye. And I told him a little bit about what we do in phototherapy and how many people we've helped and how surprised I've been personally over the past couple of years, because I've only been involved not even 3 years. Right. We were helping a lot of folks before that. And then with these technologies, I've seen just a gorgeous acceleration of the lifestyle changes that people make that equal well-being. Right. And these technologies really help us put us in the quantum leap sweet spot. So guess what?
What?
He loved the patch. He watched our webinar, our Power of the Patch webinar that you have so brilliantly crafted. And he went to buy the patches on his own, didn't even call me back. So we have a
Did you get his contact info?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about that later.
Mhm.
Well, it's so, what you said is so beautiful. Is as he's sharing his story, you knew that the quality of his life could be enhanced. And that's really what we get to do here, is give people hope that the future can be better, and so simply and easily and safely and naturally and affordably and all those wonderful things. So let's jump in and ask you, briefly, how did, what is it that got you interested enough to try the patches and the technology and then to share them?
Well, I wanted to talk briefly about the power of community and how people are isolated these days and lonely. And so it's a great first question, because if it hadn't been a trusted colleague who called me, and somebody I've been friends with for 10 years, and some of this is warm market, and some of this is relationship marketing, and some of this is just people you meet on the trail. But everybody these days is looking for community. So Anne called me and she said, "Have you ever heard of this technology?" I said, "No, I'd not heard of that. I'd worked with stem cells in the past, and definitely know the power." But Gregory's beautiful illustration earlier, they're dangerous. They need to be repeated sometimes. They come with long-term risks as well. So if it hadn't been her, I probably would have said no. It was the beginning of the shutdown, and I was incredibly busy, and people were terrified that year. And I looked at it, and then I saw the depth of the science, and I saw David Schmidt's brilliance, and I saw community. And really, that was one of the big draws, was how we've put together this beautiful tribe, if you will, of very committed professionals and very committed folks looking for a better way. You use the word hope. I think that's the promise these days. And David's fantastic when he speaks, and he, he's so humble, and even he wasn't looking for this. He was looking for some background science, for some other work, for something else he's working on down the road, which will show up in a few years, or maybe sooner. But he wasn't expecting the patch technology to actually upregulate GHK. That was surprising to me. It was a surprise to him. And then all of a sudden, it was as if down off Mount Sinai, here come the magic tablets.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so let's talk about the star of the show. You've been referring to it. Gregory talked about it, X39, that was launched to the world and January of 2019, David took a tour around the world. We were at the last stop in Los Angeles. Who's this for and who isn't it for?
It's definitely for folks who want something better. Anybody know any of those? That can be anywhere on the spectrum, right? If you're in trouble. Well, and a lot of folks at the tail end of the spectrum have come to believe that it's that thing that they're calling a chronic condition really is not reversible. And we talk about age reversal here, and it's certainly for folks like that. It's my personal experience was I really was in probably the best shape of my life when Anne shared these technologies with me. And I wasn't expecting to feel much. I was sleeping fine. I was in a very powerful athletic momentum, taking good self-care. And one of the first things I noticed was my workouts were better. My recovery from, well, I'll tell you what, I had a pretty deep tissue massage today. Very skilled masseur, and he was rough on me, and it was a beautiful exercise in letting go and giving myself permission to not have to call it define myself, right? I felt a little bit afterwards, and I probably before X39 I would have felt that tomorrow morning. And recovery from workout is fantastic. So it's for folks who want to improve their well-being for sure. And if people are interested in stepping away from particular conditions and particular labels, we do that. If you don't want to be taking the stuff that the doc gives you, if you're one of those folks who doesn't want to follow the instructions, we can help you do that without getting specific, right? And so it's for almost everybody. If you do have a condition for which you're being purposely immunosuppressed, intentionally immunosuppressed, organ transplant, things like this, that's definitely something to talk with your doc about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have something that's really safe for just about everyone. And what are the ideal conditions for people to get the maximum benefit from utilizing this technology?
Yeah. Well, it definitely makes what you're doing work better. So if you're taking in toxic stuff into your body, if you got a bunch of junk in your body, it's going to help that junk do what that junk is meant to do. So the flip side of that is the good news. If you're putting good stuff in, if you're somebody who's been looking for years, how to take the proper supplements, vitamins, et cetera, and you're taking nice care of yourself and you're not maybe seeing the traction that you'd like, this actually will help, as I said before, accelerate those things. It helps a massage work better. It helps a yoga practice work better. And really to stay as clean as possible and as connected to the earth as possible. So we want to stay incredibly well hydrated and nice water. I like to say, whatever you're putting in your body, just make it real. You know, if whatever you're eating, did it have a nice life? Did it enjoy its life? And you can make that mean whatever you want. And if it's something that ate other things, did it eat nice things? Right. And so we accumulate up the food chain. So really, we want to look around and clean up our lives. That will help the technologies work great. And the converse is true as well. Little by little, X39 will actually help those things that we maybe have to force ourselves to do now. You know, I have to force myself maybe to drive past the Chinese food, fast food. X39 has a magic way of kind of popping our eyes open physiologically to the things that were poisoning us all along, but we didn't know it. And the body just wakes up and says, nah, I don't think so.
So we want to pay attention to what we're putting in our body, the good stuff, and well hydrated. And how long do we wear the patches?
Well, how long you want to stay alive? Every day until yeah. we talk about 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And for somebody who's relatively healthy, that's 12 hours on, 12 hours off for 90 days, at least 90 days. We like to say 3 to 6 months and see what's happening. The long game actually is very exciting. It's fun to talk about how quickly we get people out of pain and how all of a sudden people's eyes can pop open and they realize, wow, I can feel like this. And so that's nice the first week or month or whatever that is. And what's really fun is to see what happens a year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, right? And we're only 4 years into this particular technology. But yeah, as far as hours per day, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. If you leave it on longer than 12 hours, which we all accidentally do from time to time, just make sure it's off for a full 12 hours before you put it back on. And for folks who can't necessarily handle it, it's a pretty powerful technology. And we can maybe talk about that down the road. But it can be worn for shorter periods of time too. If you wear it for 3 hours, because you're easing in, leave it off for at least the 3 hours.
Beautiful, beautiful. That was very well said. Thank you. I know that we live in this world where people want to notice something quickly. And I loved what you said, give it 3 to 6 months, which what's going on in our body didn't happen overnight. So it probably won't change overnight, but we might notice things overnight. What do you say to people and say, well, how long is it going to take for me to notice something?
I usually like to tell them, we'll hold your hand and we'll help you. It's a great idea to journal. It's interesting how hesitant people are to journal and to keep track. But once you do, that in itself, even without the technologies, is a great well-being exercise. Certainly wearing the patch that's instructive. And basically what I would say is we'll be there for you as you're exploring. And it took you a while to get here, right? It took you, how many years did it take for this to show up, this particular thing that you want relief from to appear? And it will go away faster than it took to get here. Let's put it that way.
I love that. I'm
Mhm.
gonna use that.
Mhm.
It's gonna go way faster than it took to get here. Okay, so some people may notice something quickly, some people not, but stay with it. And it is cumulative, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Are there any contraindications or any side effects or anything that's unpleasant that people can experience?
There's no contraindications. There's nothing actually in the patch that goes in the body. It's not a bioactive, and it's not a pharmaceutical, and it's not a chemical. It simply takes the light frequencies that are being emitted from our body at low frequencies and brings them back. So it accentuates the signal, essentially. Yeah. So there's nothing contraindicated. As I said before, it makes things work better. So interestingly, if you're on a lot of medications and you're fairly fragile, you're somebody who has unfortunately gone down the conveyor belt of those traditions, you want to stay real close to your doc. And what I like to do is suggest to people that they don't ask their doc, because the doc won't know what this is, and the doc will say no. Say, doc, I've met some folks who have just some incredible success, and I feel very strongly about doing this. I want to do this. I'd like you to keep a real close eye on me. Will you please do complete blood work now, and 3 months down the road, and 6 months down the road? So that's our way of tricking the docs into doing the clinical trials with us, because we've already seen the serum changes, right? We've already seen the benefits. But that's a nice way. And also, the last part of your question, are there side effects? Unfortunately, yes, if you're somebody like that, because somebody who's been struggling and hanging on to a lot of pathology for a while, there's this phenomenon we called retracing, and the body is trying to speak always, right? Inflammation is a great thing. Without oxidative stress, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be alive. Exercise is oxidative stress. The game is, how quickly can you come back to center? And bodies that don't have the capacity to come back to balance, to center, that's the beginning of what's called chronic inflammation or chronic stress. So stress is not bad, inflammation not bad, but if yesterday's inflammation wasn't perfectly handled while you were asleep, you're in trouble. So that's a long way of saying the body's been trying to say some things for a long time, right? A lot of times X39 is a very powerful way for the body all of a sudden to speak. And sometimes it's saying something that's not comfortable. But again, that's to be navigated. And we have other technologies that are a little bit more gentle and can handle that inflammation, right? And bring the body up at a softer cellular level. And all of a sudden you've got the power inside the cells so that when you use X39, all of a sudden you've got your batteries are full.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it happened to me. I had a injury in my upper arm, and I said, Dr. Nicholas, this hurts. He goes, oh, good, it's working. And so it was doing that retracing. And then when that was done, and it is temporary, that's what's good to know for everyone. If you have some kind of discomfort or even pain, when you start using it, it's a good thing. And you can take it off if it's too much, but if you leave it on, you'll get through it quicker. So you don't need to keep it on the full 12 hours. Any other final comments before we jump into some questions?
Well, since I mentioned the massage, I was talking to a friend about how I was experiencing visions, just random places I'd been, conversations I hadn't been thinking about. So even his deep tissue work on me today, unleashing the fascia, the body remembers, the body keeps track, body keeps score. And this phrase, emphasis on yet, I love when Gregory says emphasis on yet, right? Our job is to release the stuff that's in there. And then all of a sudden, this thing that's the light body, we glimmer, and all of a sudden we're glimmering real nice and bright.
Beautiful, beautiful.
It was fun.
Okay, so we have some questions. I don't know if there's any stories, but let's jump in, and we'll start out with Kathy because she was first. I have a member who has who had his thyroid removed and has been prescribed levoxythyroid. No, levothyroxine.
Levothyroxine, yeah.
Thank you. I don't know those.
No reason why he couldn't continue.
Would there
using
be any
X39.
reason? No reason. Okay,
Absolutely not. No.
great.
We do have another technology that's very nice for hormone balance. We don't market it that way because it's not FDA approved for that. But SP6, which is a ketogenesis, it's great for cravings, and it's great for putting the body into a place where it uses fat as a fuel source. And it actually stabilizes the hypothalamic pituitary axis. And so our hormones are more not only balanced, but more bioavailable. So that
Kathy,
thyroid issue might have
SP6.
Yeah.
I recommend that they listen to David tomorrow, because he's going to be talking about SP6 and not necessarily about hormones. So more about cravings, I imagine. Okay, Jody, I have weakness in my legs. Can I put X49 on my leg to help strengthen it, or does it need to be put on the tailbone?
It doesn't need to be put anywhere. In fact, it doesn't even need to be put on the skin. The technologies work if they're within the infrared field. If they're within about 3 inches of the surface of the body, they work. So you can put them in your pockets. I take off today's patches, put them in a stack, and tomorrow when I put on new patches, I put the used ones in my pocket because there might be a bit of a residual, right? They're good for between 12 and 20 hours, but we say 12. But no, it's a total body activation. And so it is working no matter where you put it. Some people do find that local application and targeted application works. So again, it's very bio-individual. This is not a one size fits all. It's great that you're in exploration and you are your own best investigator. So it's a good idea to put it on somewhere. X49 is fantastic. And by the way, another, since we were talking about hormones, X49, we talk about bone density, and a lot of their clinical trials were based on bone density bettering. But in postmenopausal women, the reason they have bone density issues in the first place is a hormone issue. And the other surprising thing that they found with X49 is a catecholamine blanket upreg. So that means all, the serotonin and some of the other catecholamines, which are our neurotransmitters in the brain and everywhere else in the body, and dopamine. That was the thing that jumped out. I look through a particular lens sometimes at the clinical trials, but in addition to bone density, X49 very surprisingly upregulated dopamine with significance in the clinical trials. And we have a lot of reasons to upregulate dopamine.
Yes, we do. And again, Jody, you might want to listen to to David Schmidt tomorrow and his talk about X49. And I think you're going to get some wonderful information. And trust your instinct, just like what Tom said. Dr. Tom, you put it, everybody's different. And so if your instinct says to put it one place, try it, see how it feels. And the next day, maybe someplace else. And it's always working, which is wonderful. Okay, Jim says people who have skin issues and need to be covered from head to toe because of this, the sun would burn them. Are there any patches that would help?
Well, you're the one with the red nose and the red cheeks and the great tan from Aruba from last week. I heard that you got a really beautiful gift bag from the company. And one of the things that David shared there was the reason he gave everybody a free sleeve of glutathione was because the oxidative stress of a sunburn is protected in advance with glutathione. So if you know you're going to be at the beach all day, definitely have a glutathione on you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And he gave us Elevita night formula. And he said, if you have a little too much sun, you can put that on and it'll help. So we were gifted many things, and he has very fair skin and notices that he doesn't sunburn anymore from X39. So they gave us X39 glutathione and the night cream to support our skin. So it was a beautiful gift bag that we got, and the combination makes a difference. Okay, Christina, that's great. Thank you. One of my brand partners said her family has a heart condition, and both are controlled but flare up. They would like to use the patches. Any suggestions? She is super concerned about having flare-ups. And another brand partner wants to know what you would use for nerve pain in the feet. And there's a third one, but let's handle the first two and then we'll move on and get some other people. And we have time, we'll come back to the third.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have a record spike, shocking record spike in heart issues and nerve issues here in the past couple of years. And yes, we can help quite a bit. Again, somebody with those conditions is probably medicated, and so this should be done in conjunction with the doc. But certainly, the reason our technology is called carnosine is because carnosine was first in the heart, and carne is meat, right? And the heart is a muscle. X49 is fantastic for the tissues that are already mature: bone, muscle, brain, etc. So X49 is a great idea. And David said before that X49 is carnosine on steroids. But let's not get away from the idea that X39 actually is the big umbrella. You can't go wrong with big umbrella. This company was around for 15 years before X39 showed up. David had been doing the research for a quarter of a century. And so we do have some targeted technologies that can enhance what X49 does, but X49 and the deeper they look, the more surprises that are coming out. So that's really the game. But yes, stay close to your practitioners, and you can't go wrong. There's no downside to any of this. And as far as the nerve pain, yeah. I had somebody I just spoke with this afternoon who had a particular very troubling condition and said, can these technologies work for this particular condition? And I let them know that yes, if you weren't born with it, it's not a disease. And if you were fine in your 20s, we have a way of resetting the body to the telomere link that was the DNA activation, it was the enzyme activity and frolicking, it was all of the different repair capacity in the thriving hormones of somebody who's in their mid-20s. X39 puts the body back there. And so that's why we become more and more playful. There are some targeted technologies for nerves. So Eon, we market for stress and anxiety issues. It's fantastic for the whole nervous system. It's fantastic as a targeted therapeutic for particular nerve pain, shooting pains. And it's great for, you're laughing because I'm trying to keep myself from saying names, diseases. Yeah.
You're doing a great job.
It's really great for the full balance. So the autonomic nervous system of the body is the thing that says, do I run and catch the gazelle, or do I run for my life, or do I take a nap and love and digest and hang out? So that's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. That's
Beautiful.
yeah. When that's
Well,
in gear, any insult is handleable.
great. And Christine, I've heard many people that have those conditions that X39 just really, really was incredibly beneficial. And now that we have X49, carnosine on steroids, because everyone used to use carnosine for the heart, and now we have X49 also, right in the middle of the chest. So try it. See? Okay, Tina, if a person has only one kidney and that kidney has issues, which patch in addition to X39, Dr. Tom?
It depends on the condition and the etiology of the condition, I'd say. And again, stay close to your practitioner. X39, I've heard of renal improvements, and we actually worked with a gentleman who had a particular issue with one of his sex organs, and we put the SP6 patch right at the perineum and the X39 under the belly button. The whole urinary system, which begins in the kidneys, of course, well, it begins here, and it's important to stay hydrated, right? And we can say that all day long. A, it's important to stay hydrated. B, you can't go wrong. C, experiment, right? And so you could put X39 and or X49 right on the kidneys. And you also could use energy enhancer, which was our very first technology, which very gently upregulates the ATP, very gently and very powerfully in all of the cells. So then all of a sudden, whatever the particular tissue is that's struggling, right, in this case, the kidney, is probably clamoring for energy. And all of a sudden, we've got a way really magically and powerfully to put that energy, give those cells what they've been clamoring for, that the body doesn't have the ability to give it yet.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So try adding SP6 to X39.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story from one of our brand partners who had dramatic results from a serious kidney disease. And when she read the study on organ repair with SP6, her kidney's fully functioning now, and she's thrilled. So, and we've had people, they're nephrologists, say, I've never done this before, but you're going from 3 days a week of dialysis down to one, and an 83-year-old woman that was taken off dialysis, which is something you really don't hear. So be open for miracles, because they happen all the time. Okay, we're going to take a few more. Betty, can the treatment help a knee torn M and degenerative Ds in the neck, and also a condition in the joints called A?
Nice work, Betty. Nice work. Yes, yes, and
ADM.
yes.
You
Yes,
go,
yes, and
Betty.
yes. Yes, yes, and yes. Hundreds, thousands of stories.
Uh-oh.
Maybe millions.
Can't hear you, Tom.
Uh-oh.
I'm
What
not
about-
hearing you. Tom?
I'm here.
You guys hear
I
Tom?
didn't get that. Could you try again?
Can you guys hear Tom? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I've lost the sound. Oh, you can hear him. I can't.
I can hear you too,
Okay.
Robin.
All right, I'm gonna let you
Well,
keep talking,
So I'll keep
but I
talking.
can't hear.
The answer is yes.
All
And
right,
we've helped many, many,
now we
many.
can. Okay, that
And
was weird. You disappeared. Okay, continue.
yeah, so a lot of the more subtle tissues, and the cartilage is one, come along with time. So the pain itself can be almost instantaneously resolved. Ice Wave and Eon and X39, we have these technologies that the pain itself. And I like to suggest to people, don't get real comfortable, because we've gotten comfortable lately in this country thinking that if the thing isn't yelling, it's okay. And I like to say, even, you take the tumor out, you haven't taken the cancer away, you've taken away the evidence of the cancer. And so, yes, we have a way of bringing people into a place of relief quickly. And that really is a long term, if it's that severe, and that many different pieces of pathology, right? That's a sequential downslide. And that's probably going to take, 6 months to a year of use. And the answer is yes, 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 and yes. Do you want your 25-year-old knees and your 25-year-old neck? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That is to say, the neck that you had when you were 25.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. So Peggy, I'm gonna skip over you because we don't mention disease states. If you want to write symptoms only next time, that would be great. Good morning from the Philippines. Any suggestion for a patient suffering from, how would we say that without, can you read it? It's Suzette. Can you see it? You see where we are?
Somebody from Jakarta.
It's Suzette. I don't know how to describe those. Let's go. So everybody, we mentioned symptoms only. So next time when you come on, please do symptoms, because we want to answer your questions, but we have to stay compliant. So the next one is, does X39 patch improve cognitive limitations, i.e. memory?
That's one of the most exciting things for me.
I know, I love it.
Really. Yes, dramatically. And as I mentioned with 49, as we look deeper and we see a longer term sequela of 39, we'll probably look deeper in those places as well. And we'll have folks who hear somebody else tell a story, just like when you just talked about your sunburn. I'm a light-skinned Irish guy too, with, I was one of those redheaded kids, was sunburned my whole life. And I realized that in the past 3 years, even though I've spent plenty of time on beaches, and I do like to be outside and I get plenty of sunshine, no sunburn here either.
That's fabulous. So cognitive function, X39 help? Yeah, that was
Very powerfully. Yeah, we're I know we're over time, but I
Yeah.
could talk about that for hours. Absolutely.
well, especially being the brain. Yeah, and there is a study that you can look at from Dr. Chevalier on, that was for cognitive decline patients, and they had 100% improvement. So, and it is cumulative, it gets better and better over time. So yes, we are over. So let's get the last one. What's the best patch for seizures?
Well, X39 is the granddaddy of them all. Eon, as I mentioned, is a nice balance for the autonomic nervous system. And one of my favorite stories was actually very early on. It's a lady I had been working with for about a year, and she was recovering quite well from an autoimmune condition, with some of the things that I was doing. Then all of a sudden I met LifeWave, and she was on multiple medications, suppressing, and I wanted to be very careful with her, and I was quite surprised at how quickly we helped her get away from those. Now, again, we can't say that out loud, and that's not a claim that we're going to make. But this is a journey that can remove you from almost anything that you've been calling chronic disease. Let's put it that way.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Well, what an evening. Thank you, Dr. Tom. I have probably the best job because I get to learn from all you guys, and it's so wonderful. And thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We really appreciate you taking the time. If you're a guest this evening and just being introduced to LifeWave, we invite you to get started. There is no risk. There's a 30-day risk-free guarantee. So please get back to the person that invited you. We have a wonderful customer program if it's just for yourself, or if you're someone who likes to share. We have a very generous compensation plan to help you. And thank you, Gregory, for being with us this evening. As always, we love your presentation. So at this time, we get to sit and we got all these hearts coming. How wonderful. Beautiful, everyone. Well, thank you, and we'll say good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.